How many carbs do you have to eat to be in ketosis? This is a question we get a lot at Diet Doctor. I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at dietdoctor.com, and I think this is an important topic to go over, to talk about how many carbs to eat to be in ketosis, but also what is ketosis, why do you need to be in ketosis, and what else can influence ketosis. These are all topics we're going to get into today, ending with a clear description of how many carbs are going to help you get into ketosis. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you about a new feature we have on YouTube called Diet Doctor Explores. This feature is our very own Christy Sullivan, and this is a fantastic series if you want sort of the practical tips to really make low carb simple. How do you cook things easier? How do you prepare things more easily? She just did a video on how to make burgers in the oven instead of on the grill, which is something I've never done before. And it was great. I mean, it was so simple. The way she presents it is so easy to digest, I guess you could say. So easy to learn that I'm glad I watched that video, and I'm going to start doing that myself. So definitely check out Diet Doctor Explores, the whole series on YouTube with Christy Sullivan. But now back to how many carbs can I eat to stay in ketosis? So first, what is ketosis? Simply put, ketosis is when your body switches from burning glucose for fuel, which you get from carbohydrates and sugars, to burning fat for fuel. And when you're burning fat for fuel, either fat you eat or fat stores on your body, you can create ketones, which then can be used for fuel for your brain and have other effects it can have in your body. So that's what ketosis is. Now, why would someone want to be in ketosis? Now, to be honest, the majority of the planet doesn't necessarily need to be in ketosis, but the majority of the planet probably does need to reduce the amount of carbohydrates they're eating. If everybody in the world got their carbohydrates from fruits, vegetables, and legumes, we'd be in a much better situation than we are now. So simply reducing carbohydrates from the 300 grams or 400 grams that many people are eating in the standard American or standard Western diet down to 150 grams would be a huge benefit for most people, especially if the quality improved. But for some people, going the extra step and being in ketosis makes a difference. So who are these people? Well, certainly anybody with type 2 diabetes who wants to treat and potentially reverse their type 2 diabetes with lifestyle, then a ketogenic diet has proven to be very beneficial in the literature. The same for people with metabolic syndrome. The same for people who have a significant amount of weight to lose, whether it's 30 pounds or more. Those are sort of arbitrary guidelines, but the more weight you have to lose, the more you may benefit from being in ketosis. Other people who are trying to treat neurological conditions, whether it's Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or traumatic brain injury or some mental health conditions, while we don't have conclusive evidence that a ketogenic diet is beneficial for that, there's lots of animal data and anecdotal reports. So some people are using ketogenic diets for that as well. The same for treating cancers. Now, again, if you're treating any medical condition and using nutrition to treat a medical condition, always consult with your physician and your healthcare team first. We just want to provide some general data so you can use that information to approach the conversation with your physician. So those are some of the reasons people would rather be in ketosis rather than just low carb. Now, there are other things that affect ketosis, though, beyond just how many carbs you eat. Your sleep, your stress, your exercise, and even protein have all been linked to ketosis. So sleep and stress, the worse that is, the more your cortisol, your adrenaline is going to be up. That can affect ketosis. Fasting certainly can help you get into ketosis better. And we have guides on time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting to help you along the way. Protein's an interesting one because a lot of people talk about protein as kicking people out of ketosis or preventing people from getting into ketosis. And protein can be converted to glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis. But when you look at the big studies that have used 50-gram protein meals or 30% calories from protein, for the majority of people, that level of protein is not an issue to get into ketosis. Now, where it might be an issue is if someone's brand new to a ketogenic diet and severely insulin resistant, then there's some anecdotal and clinical experience to suggest that protein may be important there. But in the long run, too little protein is probably a bigger risk than too much protein when it comes to worrying about your protein intake. And the literature doesn't support protein restricting ketosis as much as some people might say or think that happens. So, all right. So that's sort of the frame of what is ketosis? Why would you want to be in ketosis? What else affects ketosis? Now, how many carbs to eat to be in ketosis? So at Diet Doctor, we like to use net carbs. That's your total carbs minus the fiber. Because if you're eating real foods, natural foods, whether it's plant or animal source foods, any fiber that you get, you don't really digest, your body doesn't absorb, and it doesn't affect your glucose and your insulin. It just passes right through. So for whole foods, natural food diets, 20 grams of net carbs is going to get just about everybody into ketosis. That's a low enough level that pretty much everybody will get into ketosis. Now, if you happen to be eating lots of processed foods, baked goods, those types of things that aren't the natural foods, then we recommend using total carbs because then the fiber might act a little bit differently. Okay. Now, some people, though, are still going to have no trouble getting into ketosis up to 50 grams per day. And we wrote an article about a study that looked at this. In healthy volunteers, people who are eating 50 grams or less were consistently in ketosis. Now, whether this also applies to people who are overweight and insulin resistant, unclear because they weren't included in that study. So under 20 for sure, up to 50 if you're healthy and physically active, without severe insulin resistance, up to 50 is probably going to work as well. Above 50 is where it starts to get much more sketchy. Now, if you're exercising a lot and doing the intermittent fasting and thin and very insulin sensitive, then you probably could be in ketosis above 50. But for most people, that's where it's going to break down. All right. So 20 for sure, 50 for some people, above 50, it's going to be much less common. So hopefully this video was helpful to give you an idea of how many carbs you can eat and still be in ketosis. But remember, understand why you want to be in ketosis first, understand that the quality of your carbs still matter, and that there are other factors that can affect ketosis. All right, so if you found this helpful, please hit the subscribe button below so you'll get all our Diet Doctor updates. And we have all these guides that I've referenced that you can see at dietdoctor.com to give you more information. All right, thanks everybody. Take care and have a great day.